Hey, Jenny.
Hi. Are we live?
We're live.
Okay. Well, happy almost Halloween, everybody. Let's see. We have, what are we down to, like 18, 17 days? Something like that?
Something like that. So we got quite a few people. We got Joanna, Sydney, Kim, all in the house.
Oh, look at all those comments.
Yay.
Thank you guys for joining in. This is going to be a pretty fun weekend because we are doing this live stream tonight, and then tomorrow night, Paul's haunted house, which once we zoom in on the painting, I'll show what his haunted house looks like. I know you guys have seen it in photos and stuff, but we'll show it on the video.
Yeah, I held back on that one a little bit.
What do you mean you held back?
I wanted to go really spooky, kind of.
Thank you. I love my horns too.
I wanted to kind of tap into that darker side of Paul.
Okay.
but I didn't. So.
I was tapping into the vintage side of me, I guess.
There you go.
Actually, there's some truth to that. I have always loved those vintage Halloween cards, and I think it's really cool that years and years ago that people used to send those around. And they're just so fun. My aunt collected a lot of those pictures, and
just in case you forget who I am.
Oh. Well, anyway, for those just joining us, we are GoBox Art Crate. We're a subscription box, but also you can do the tutorials without the subscription box.
I feel like we've become
our third year of business.
An art company that offers a subscription box.
Yeah, that's probably a better description. And you can buy single kits of paintings, or you can buy the box that has 2 projects, or you can subscribe and get 2 projects a month and be surprised every month as to what we're painting. And or you can just do your own thing with your own supplies. And
yeah,
I'm losing my train of thought there.
Yeah,
it must be these horns. I'm distracted by looking.
You know, it's funny is we look really out of focus in our main monitor, but on the YouTube feed we look fine. Go figure. Anyway.
All right, let's zoom in and have a look. I'll let you do that part.
All right, we got. I'm gonna Sakusa. Did I say that right? Welcome in.
Oh, Sid, I saw your comment that you got your skeleton out. Yes, years ago we did. In fact, that popped up in my Facebook memories today. They were fabulous glitter skeletons. And the skeleton that was behind us, we took those and we did glitter and flower. We hot glued flowers to their head, silk flowers, and we made them so incredibly cool. I will post a picture because I've got a bunch of them at home up on a mantle on display, so I'll get a picture.
And they're there all year.
They're there all year, yes.
Yeah.
Our daughter would not have it any other way.
We're kind of a Halloween family.
Okay, so here is our painting, and you can see this has that vintage vibe where the pumpkin face has the round eyes, which is a traditional thing. If you were to Google vintage Halloween postcards, for example, you'd see a lot of the pumpkin jack-o'-lanterns have round eyes. You can put any face you want on this guy. The mouth is probably the hardest out of the whole face, just because it requires a little bit more thinking than just drawing a circle or a triangle. The moon on this is rather large. I did trace the coaster. You can make it smaller. I was unsure whether it was too big for the painting. I think in the end it does balance out nicely with this and provides a nice bright light to light up the edge of that little haunted manor up there. But yes, keep that in mind. You can do a smaller moon if you want to.
We are using an 11 by 14 canvas. And I just adjusted our volume. It looked like we were spiking a little bit. So you guys let me know if it's too quiet and I can adjust it back up. So
yeah, 11 by 14 stretch canvas. That's what comes in the project kit. You can see, I'll flip it over. Staples on the back, which is always a nice thing. And I'm going to move this aside for paint.
Move it.
The colors this month we have white and black, cobalt blue, craft orange, and craft yellow. I love both of these for the Halloween paintings because they're super opaque. As a lot of you guys know who've painted with us for years, that these colors come out this time of year because of that, the opacity and the color. That's just a perfect orange. I love that orange.
Can I just say real quick that I really, out of all of our Halloween paintings we've done,
oh, let's grab your haunted house too. Real quick. It's right behind you.
I think that's my favorite pumpkin jack-o'-lantern that we've ever done.
Huh, wow.
I think it's kind of rusticy more looking, and so.
So if you are around tomorrow night and you want to pop in and watch this one come to life, That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that one. There's some years that I really look forward to, and this is one. I think this house came together really nice. So can't wait for that.
I've got a little something, optional little thing we can add at the end if people want to.
Okay.
Something that harkens back to the zombie apocalypse painting we used to do.
So these are 4-pack Princeton art brushes. Princeton is a very well-known, very, very nice brush manufacturer. And these are the 4-pack that comes in the kit. I think they come with free with your first box. If you need to replace them ever, just let us know. And I believe they're $10 a set. Or some of the, if you buy a past crate, you can add them on for $5. That's a really good deal. So let's take our biggest brush to start. Go ahead and dip it in your water cup. You will want to have a water cup nearby and your paper towel.
Well, happy birthday to Joanna's youngest.
Nice. Dry that off?
Turning 20 tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Happy birthday there. Okay, so for the background color, it is kind of a muted smoky blue. I didn't want to do just a true blue, so it's got a grayish tone to it. And there's a couple things we do to accomplish that. And it's crazy. You'd think you'd think that you'd mix black and blue, but it's actually orange and blue.
Yeah.
So scrape off a little orange, plop it down here. And then if you want to wash your brush between grabbing colors, you can. I usually don't. I just grab from the edges. So then we're going to stir some blue into that. You definitely want it to be more blue than brown. But this is going to tone it down nicely.
This is a great trick.
Yeah.
And a nice treat.
Ha-ha.
Ba-dum.
Ba-dum.
I still want to get a sound effects machine.
So here, I'll just scrape on a little color. That's it's kind of like a vintage denim blue. There you go, going with the vintage. We're going to add a little white to this just to lighten it up a bit.
Add
Not
some
too
nice
much.
Opacity to it, too.
Yeah. And you can pull in more of the orange. You can even pull in a little black if you want to do that, if you really want to tone it down some. But we're just going to sort of flip our brush around. We're going to come all the way, leave about a 1-inch border of white canvas around the edges. It's totally fine if you forget about that and you bring it all the way to the edges. It does not change or make anything wrong with the painting. It's just, we don't need to paint to the edges, so I'm not going to.
So for first timers, how thick should we be getting this paint on here, Jenny?
Pretty thin. Now you do want to, I'm going to take these horns off. They're squeezing my head a little. You do want to make sure that you cover all the tooth of the canvas, so that's the raised texture, and make sure there aren't any little pinholes of white. I don't do a super thick coat because I need it to dry in time for me to start painting some stuff on top of it. And you will find you'll probably run out of paint right away since we are covering such a huge
and we've also
bit
got
of canvas.
We have abnormal weather.
Oh my gosh, it was 81 today. I don't like it. Bring me the cold fall that we always get every year.
It was 84 yesterday.
Yeah.
We're used to like 58 and rain right now.
Yeah.
So
as you go along, you can sometimes use the corner of your brush, pick up a little white, and streak some bits of white in here, almost like you've got a little bit of a fog or some low-lying clouds. Just blend them in. You don't have to completely blend them in. You can have some parts that are sort of a brighter white like that. Other parts where it's more blended in. Hope you guys all had a good week. I can't believe it's Friday, October 14th, already halfway through the month. That is just insane to me. Weren't we just in July? I swear it was just July.
I really don't know. I don't pay any attention anymore.
I know. It felt like we were just moving out of that studio space, and it's already been 2 months.
We still need to go get that couch out of there and take it over to my sister.
Yeah, we do. Yes, Sid, that's you. We need to bring it over. Oh, Sid says it's 83 right now. Oof. Yeah, I want the crisp fall weather. So the nice thing, though, is it does cool down really fast at night. So when we go out and walk our dogs,
yeah, it's getting
night,
down.
It's like 62, somewhere between 62 and 68. I don't know.
One of the days when I drove to work this week, it was 43 when I got in the truck.
Yeah.
And then it got up to like 84. So that's like, it's almost like we live in the desert.
I turned our gas fireplace on for the first time in months the other morning, it was that morning that it was 43 degrees. And the dogs were like, what? They were so excited.
Where have
and they
you
came
been,
running
my
in
friend?
and they laid in front of it until I had to turn it off because it was getting too warm. And then throughout the day, our younger dog kept going over to the fireplace and she'd turn around and look at me like,
Yo,
turn it on, lady, turn it on. It was so funny.
master of the fire.
I know you know how to do this.
I could do it myself. I'm just not tall enough. She probably could figure out how to do it, honestly. She's a smart dog.
So here I've got some of my wispy fog going on. So keep in mind, fog does tend to lay on the ground, which we can do some of that later. But
So
we have to paint this tree line in here, so you don't have to worry about too much about down in here.
That was the weird thing driving out to the studio tonight, is it's 81, 82 degrees, and it was kind of starting to get fall foggy. Like, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, what? Wait a minute. We were trying to figure out if it was smoke, but it doesn't smell smoky.
Oh, Kim, you guys in that hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, yeah. Did you suffer any damage at your place? So your pool is 87 degrees. Wow, that's actually nice.
What are you doing hanging out with us?
Yeah,
You should be out in that pool right now.
Okay. So about like that. I left the white border around.
Oh, shoot. I was supposed to leave a white border around?
Yeah, didn't you hear me talking?
No, I wasn't paying any attention.
So the reason I did that is only so that I can come in from the edges with this sort of smoky, it turns kind of grayish even though we use black, it just mixes with this color here. And it creates a nice border for this. It almost gives it that kind of, what do they call that?
Vignette?
Yeah, that's what it is, a vignette. Thank you, Paul, with the fancy word for the win.
Yeah.
So I started to wash my brush. You don't even have to. Dip your brush in black. I'm not going to pick up much. You can see I don't have a lot on here. I'm going to start on the outer corners.
No damage, but they lost power for 3
Oh,
days.
wow. I'm glad you didn't have any damage, though. But, man, being without power for 3 days, that's hard. So as I come in here, I'm just blending this into the wet paint. And we can do some more of that blending, especially if this part for you dries fast. I'll show you how to blend it. Even like I could have waited and done this with this completely dry, because there are ways to blend it together even though one color's dry. But I prefer wet on wet. It works a little better. Works a little bit better that way.
One of the advantages of oil paints.
Yeah. And you can, which we're using acrylic for people.
Yes. Yeah. We don't want anybody throwing Campbell's or Hunt's tomato soup at us.
Wasn't it Heinz? It was like
Heinz or something.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard about that. Some
Activists threw tomato soup on one of Van Gogh's paintings,
his sunflower painting.
but it's covered by glass, so it's safe. But then they were protesting petroleum production. But you know what? Oil paints are not used. They don't use petroleum.
Linseed oil.
They use nut oils. So.
Like, okay, so yeah, I understand I can understand and get behind a little bit of that they're protesting.
Oh, for sure.
But
At
don't
least educate
ruin a
yourself
Van Gogh
about what you're
painting.
doing.
Good Lord, do not ruin a Van Gogh painting. They attempted. An attempt was made.
They were trying to say that human life is more valuable than a painting. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Just the way that was.
They're just wrong in their approach. Let's call it that.
Okay. Just going around the edges here. Don't worry too much about down in this area because we do put that big tree-lined hill there. So it's going to have other stuff going on.
Other things.
I am working my way from the outer edges, working in. And my blue middle area is drying really fast. So you can see down in here. Here it's really nice and blended and smudgy. But down in here where it's starting to dry really fast, it's a lot harder to blend. But I'll show us how to do that.
We've got some issues. Not really. I mean, it's one of those things, when I say it's an issue, it's one of those things that you have to learn how to cope with as an artist, right?
Yes, I'm just gonna have some rosé to help me cope with that. We taught at our winery that we belonged to last Friday night. It was really fun. And we picked up our two wine shipments because we hadn't, gosh, it was like 6 months of wine.
Yeah.
Because we're really bad about picking up the stuff,
Which
the
is
wine.
silly because I literally drive right past the...
It's 5 minutes from our house.
It's 5 minutes from our house and 2 minutes from work. So...
Team procrastination, that's us.
Yep.
All right.
But it was really a nice evening, and while you were teaching, I literally went out and I sat in the chairs right by the edge of the vineyard and had a...
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we should post photos on the group Facebook page for the box. Because the venue is really pretty and the sunset was amazing, and we got some really amazing photos.
We did.
So I will do that.
Yeah, I can do that too. After I took more pictures, so I feel special.
Did you now?
I feel special.
I don't know. I took quite a few.
Yeah.
I got pictures of the dog. That's the most important thing.
Oh, I got some.
Tara the dog. She has her own wine. It's really good. It's a white Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
So I'm washing my black. Yeah, she's a golden retriever. Or no, she's a yellow lab. And there's a picture of her right on the label. She's so cute. She's the sweetest dog. She's 2 years old. Dried my brush, and now I'm going to go... So this is a really hard edge here. This is all nice and soft. This is getting harder, and then up in here where it's really dried, it's not quite where I want it to be. I could use it. I don't think it would be a problem. But I will show you how to fix that. So I'm going to blend in my cobalt and orange again. I might have to grab some more orange later for my pumpkin. We'll see. A little white, maybe a little black in there. So I'm just trying to make something similar to this color. You can always hold your brush up to it. Yeah, that's a little too blue.
Too blue, a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that song?
Yes, I do. So I'm going to blend now the light color. Not very much paint on my brush at all. I'm blending it from the middle of the canvas and just smudging the edge of the black. And even if the black is dry, this works really good to create this sort of foggy edge.
Unevenness is your friend right now.
Yeah, and I might occasionally grab some white, blend it in there.
That was aggressive.
What is Joanna drinking?
Sparkling cuvee.
Oh, yum. Yummy, yummy, yummy. We had one of those, we had a line of cuvee that we had in the studio for a while. We have a restaurant out here called La Provence. They're cute and fancy, but not expensive. And they do a mimosa sampler that is so good.
A flight.
Yeah, it's a flight. That's right. It's a flight. So you get, like, it's literally, each little pour has to be about 4 ounces. 3 to 4 ounces.
I'd say close to 4, yeah.
And you have your choices of mimosas. And I love the prickly pear one, and I love the lavender. But yeah, the sparkling cuvee made me think of that. Ah, there went the earring. Okay, so my earrings I got are super heavy. I got them to match my horns, kind of offset, because they're hearts, they're red hearts, and then I've got the horns. I'll show you. I'll pull the other one out, because the other one fell off and hit the floor. Here they are.
When the earrings hit the floor. When the earrings hit the
They're
floor.
so heavy. So what's happening is they're actually pulling that little rubber backing off and falling out. So, Spirit Halloween.
Well, you probably got what you paid for.
Actually, they're really heavy for, like, they were only like $9.99.
Yeah, but they fall out.
They were just, you know, for tonight. So I wasn't planning on, I mean, Greta will probably wear them to school. But they are actually like a really heavy, heavy material. Like, you'd expect them to be like costume level or plastic. Let the earrings hit the floor. The earrings
I
hit the
already
floor.
did that. I already did that.
Did you? I missed it.
Yeah, I did. So I want to speak to the guys out there. Joanna says, OMG, I love mimosas. Guys, do yourself a favor. Learn to appreciate. You don't even have to learn to appreciate mimosas. Just have one. Don't be like, oh, that's not a man drink. That's a girl. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They are a true pleasure.
They are so delicious. Okay, so I've touched up back and forth between the slate blue and the black, and I feel like I have a pretty nice border going on now. The edges are pretty soft.
I like mine.
They don't have to be. Let's have a look at yours.
For the win. No, not for the win. I mean, just having fun.
You always have to change it up.
I'm not changing it up. I'm just painting.
There's no border there. That looks good.
I think it'll be okay in the end.
It looks like a sky.
I've
got some thin spots in here. I'm not really going to worry about it because they're right where the big hat goes. So much of the sky gets covered with different things. So if you have that, you can always go back and touch them up with a smaller brush and some more paint later. But I wouldn't worry about it too much.
It is so stuffy in here.
It is so stuffy. Okay. Now we're going to switch gears. We're going to make this hillside here. I think one thing that will help you so that you have spatial awareness is if you set your coaster down where the moon is going to go, which is right about here. It can overlap into that black border too. If you made a thicker black border, like mine on the original, it does overlap a little bit. But right about here, I think I have it. It's about 2 inches from the edge. So I'm just going to eyeball that. So I know if I just leave that there, I can build my hill around it. And what we have is half of this hill you're not even going to see. But right through here we have the steep hill of trees. And then we've got the manor up at the top. And it's not super decrepit. It actually looks like it's probably like a fancy manor. Paul made the decrepit one for tomorrow. So let's wash the brush. Technically, probably didn't need to. I'm going to make some more of this color. So it was blue, orange.
You know, we should bring mimosas to
tiny bit of white
to Thanksgiving this year.
Oh yeah. And this time we're going to add enough black that it's different because we want it to be darker than this color. So you can, make a little mark somewhere. Yes, that's about right. I could make it a little lighter, but I don't really think I need to. My background is nice and dry, so this is going to work perfect. When I painted this one, I was struggling. I needed a hairdryer because it wouldn't dry, and it's just the humidity difference. So here we go. Those of you who've done this before, it's our technique where we're using the thin edge of the brush. So you're placing it vertically like this. And you're wiggling it up and down. I'm not lifting it at all. It's staying glued to the canvas. I'm not worried about this area. Let's just worry about this edge. And climbing up. Occasionally you can make some of these little jaggedy things a little taller. Think of it like a heart rate monitor, a sound wave.
A seismograph.
Seismograph, there you go. Now up about here, I need to make kind of a flat spot for the house to sit. So you want, about an inch or so. And then I can go back and play around with adjusting these even more. Paul does the best job at this. I try to replicate how you do it, but just can't. I guess we just have our own painting styles.
We do. For sure.
And you can even make some of these trees, maybe we'll switch to a smaller brush to do, so you can make some kind of tall and spiky. Like I do have some in there that are goth trees. Tall, spiky ones. And now down in this way, you can continue to do that same brush motion and fill in. The reason I'm going to continue that same brush motion is because you do sometimes see, like if I were to turn my brush and just do this, you won't see like different tree lines. But if I do it the way I'm doing it now, Especially if I add a tiny bit more black to my color, you can actually get what looks like a secondary tree line in there. The nice thing about doing this lower area where you're just filling in, you don't need to be super careful. Not like along here where you want it, where it's going to show. And it can just sort of fade off into that black edging. So this vintage Halloween style is totally making a comeback because I see all kinds of decorations, like at Michael's, anywhere, that have the cat face that is a vintage cat face, and those jack-o'-lantern faces with the round eyes, the ones that are like the snowman where it's 3 pumpkins put together. We did a painting like that our first year of business. First year of having Go Box.
Yeah.
Which you can still buy. It is called...
Halloween Hello.
Halloween Hello, yes. Because it's like the pumpkin stack thing is like...
Saying hello to a little spider.
A little spider, yeah. Now, while this is still wet, if you wanted to give this kind of a foggy effect, it's tricky, but you can do it. You want to... you don't even need to wash your brush. You can wipe it off just to get any excess paint off. And you can pick up a little bit of white, not much. See, I just have a tiny bit. My brush is split real weird. It's a cloven hoof. Look at it. And then I'm just going to come in here.
Get used to this.
What?
Because we're going to use it a lot tomorrow.
The cloven hoof?
No, this little technique that we're doing right now.
I thought you were talking about the cloven hoof brush. So see how I'm blending this in here? I have very little paint on my brush. And this whole area is nice and sticky, so it's dried just enough that the paint is sticking onto it. So if you're having trouble with this even sticking to your canvas, just wait a few minutes until that paint gets a little tacky. It's kind of like putting on false eyelashes. You have to let that glue get tacky before you apply it to your lashes. So it's the same thing. And you can even swirl your brush around and do these little curly Q. You can just gradually add more and more as you like. This is extra credit. It's not on the original, but I love it, and it's one of the things I thought about later after I had done it. Like, oh, I could have added a lot of fog down in there.
So speaking of vintage Halloween and whatnot, we did watch the Rob Zombie new Munsters movie. I may save you all some time and say it's probably not really worth it.
Yeah, it wasn't that great. Joanna, on the gnomes, I will private message you because I can give you that discount. You're a long-term supporter, so yes, absolutely. You can get the gnomes since the cart didn't seem to work. And Paul will be working on those. He'll be working in his little Santa wood shop.
My Santa wood shop is moving, though.
So already looking at where I have the coaster placed, there's a lot bigger gap between here and here than there is here, and I think that's okay because this almost could have been a little crowded. I don't really think it's too bad. Like, I like it. I didn't have a problem with it. I could even sink my moon down a little bit. But now I want to dry the sweat off the back of my neck. Oh, good Lord. It is kind of sweltering in here.
It is really stagnant.
I don't like it. It's October. I'm just letting this dry for a minute. And also, if you guys are painting along, I don't want to rush you too much. Teaching in person is so incredibly different. And it's a much slower process than teaching online. And part of it is...
Online, we don't really have people going, hey, wait a minute, hold on, slow down a minute.
No, but also just like, I spend a lot of time walking around and helping people individually, which that is one of the fun things about teaching live.
Absolutely. The personal connections are always wonderful.
Okay.
We get that here, though.
Yes, definitely. I love seeing you guys back here. Every live stream. It's amazing. Okay, so I'm going to take my number 8 brush now. You could use your number 4. Either of those two work. We just want a smaller flat brush to touch up some of the top edges of these trees. Refine them just a bit in a way that this brush can't really do as much. I am running out of paint. Need to make a little bit more. What are you looking around for?
I'm trying to see the original a little bit.
Oh, okay.
No, it's all right. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, no, I got it. From where I'm sitting, it's just glare.
So I'm just going to test that out. I think it's... I try to make the same color so new trees that I put on don't stick out too much. They can stand out a little. But yeah, I'll just make some of these maybe a little taller.
Joanna, at one point in time when we first started GoBox, she said she would like to make it to a live class sometime.
Yeah, we should do one for you guys, your regulars.
We had joked saying, "Oh, we're gonna be so big we can go on tour." Remember we talked? Yeah, we talked. Well, that was, you probably ignored me, but
yeah, just... when you were talking about that kind of thing, I'm like, he's a dreamer.
I'm a dreamer.
That's what song popped in my head.
But my heart's a gold. Had to run away high. Anyway, we talked about going on tour like regionally, just because. But you know,
they're gonna be here teaching a live club.
I was thinking like, oh, we might be at like some convention center. Now it's like we'd be at the Grange Hall.
We totally would. Okay, so I am ready now. Now I actually can push this up a bit. I'm ready to start painting the haunted house on.
Ooh.
You can see it goes up right next to the moon. There is hardly space there, like maybe a quarter of an inch. So if yours is set up that way later when you put the moon on, that's totally fine. So what do we do next?
I don't know.
Let's see.
You know, this kind of reminds me.
Yeah, we do that next.
This
I'm on
reminds
step 3
me
if
of,
you guys are following the instructions.
Of Eli's house in the Christmas Story movie, the Finnish Christmas Story movie. Not Eli, what's his name? The old man.
Oh, I can't remember. I'm going to use my smallest brush to sketch out this house. And before I paint it on canvas, I'm going to show you guys on some blank paper how I do this. So we're looking at the house from the side. So we're kind of getting a 3/4 view, which means this triangle is going to be really narrow. If we were looking at a front-on angle, this would be a lot wider. But we're just kind of seeing a 3/4 view. And I love like the way, I just watched The Nightmare Before Christmas the other night, and I love the style of architecture there where it's really wonky and tall and skinny and doesn't make sense. So that's what I like to think of when I am drawing a house, like a haunted house or haunted manor. And I do a tall, skinny triangle. It kind of swoops outward on each side like this, like a witch hat. And then from there, rather than making a roof that goes straight across, I like to make a droopy roof.
It's more gothic that way.
Yeah, it's more saggy. And then this right here, you can go, you know, kind of up a little bit, a slight angle. And then we need a line here and a line here. And then the rest of this is going to go off the side of the canvas. You won't even see the bottom of this because we have the trees there. But that is a super simple way to draw a house. One of the things you can add, let's say maybe you want to add a chimney. You can do that. You can make a tall, skinny chimney.
Oh, I think this has weather vane all over
one
it.
of those ones that has like the... Don't some of the chimneys have like a little cap on the top?
Oh, for sure.
So the birds don't get in. Yeah, well, let's see, a widow's walk. A widow's walk would be...
Oh, I said a weather vane.
I know. I was just thinking of like haunted houses. So the widow's walk from the side angle is kind of a little more difficult. But I know you guys have seen houses like this. They have that weird little balcony that's way up high. And we always see them with haunted houses. And that is called a widow's walk. And I know I've read about it on Wikipedia why it's called that, but I just can't remember.
Because that's where the widows would go stand and mourn and...
Mourn their off out to sea drowned fishermen... captain husbands or something. I don't know. Just making up stories.
No, you're probably right.
I just remember in the movie Practical Magic, their house has one of those. Okay, so color-wise, we need more of this color. Good Lord, I think I've mixed this color at least 4 times now, maybe 5. It can be a little darker than this, but we really want the bottom of it to kind of blend in with the trees so you're not having to worry about painting the bottom of the house because you'd have to overlap the bottom edge with trees anyways. So I just try to make sure it's close. Could make it a little darker. And this is way over here and it's gonna be tall. Actually, I'm gonna scoot that over. Mine looks a little funny because I started to redraw it. I'm also going to mix some more black in this. So you draw your funky little witch hat, like so. Then you leave a space because we have the roof overhang. And you can make these two side pieces first. I've got glare. Let me tilt this. Actually, why don't you zoom in, Paul?
Let's do it.
Forgot we have that feature.
How far in?
About like that.
Yay.
Okay. So there, I've got the first part done. I know I did it a little out of order on the canvas. And then the saggy roof. And then this is going to go off here. And then we'll just use one of these bigger brushes like the number 8 to fill it in solid. You could even mix a slightly lighter color to fill it in because then you'll see these crisp outside edges. And later on we put the highlights on. Some of the architectural parts of this will get to stand out once again. Mix a little black there. I want this to just sort of fade off into the black border. So I came in with a little black because my color was a little lighter.
Are you saying you'd like it to fade into the hue?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And this is such a simple house. You could make it way more fancy if you want to. You can Google image search haunted houses. I know you did that.
I did. Mm-hmm. I actually absolutely did.
Now I'm just touching up the trees around here and across the bottom.
In fact, I even incorporated that into the instructions, encouraging people to do that themselves.
Yeah. So this house is just going to sit dark and ominous up here. You can zoom out now.
Okay. I think the thing that's fun for me, like with doing like these Halloween themed, is all the ideas of things being perfect and symmetrical are out the door. Like,
hey, you're not reading these chats.
I have been.
Come to Oregon all the time. I'm just saying we could come into a class. Yes, we could. Our winery would host us.
Yep, they've told us as much.
Oh, I would love it. That would be super cool. So if you guys ever want to plan that, let us know. We'll do it for sure. And we can even give you. We can even give you accommodation recommendations. Okay. So I've got glare until that dries. You
the
can see.
Hampton Inn in Sherwood.
Yeah, we got a hotel here now, finally. The neighborhood wasn't super happy about it. All right, we are in step 4 now. We're going to draw the pumpkin. If you prefer to draw this in a lighter color, like maybe just a little bit of white added to this color so that you can easily blend it in if you make a mistake, please do that. I am going to draw it in black. Just gonna trust my drawing skills. We can move that out of the way for now. Now let's look at the size of this. It is bigger than a grapefruit, smaller than a cantaloupe, somewhere in between a grapefruit and a cantaloupe. It's really close in size to those little sugar pie pumpkins that you can buy. I know Costco sells them right now.
Absolutely.
A 2-pack. Very close in size to those. And so much of the top gets covered up. But I'll show you on my paper how I learned how to draw pumpkins. And you'd think, when I was up until too recently, I was just drawing them, the way, I draw a circle like this, like a tomato shape. And then I just draw the lines like this. And that totally works. If that's easier for you, you can do that. The way I started drawing them recently, though, is it's more important when you're showing the top of the pumpkin. So for this one with the hat on, I probably don't even have to worry about it. But I started doing the middle segment right here first. And my thing I run into is I oftentimes make it too wide. So I'm going to start out with it kind of narrow. So you're starting with that kind of oval shape. And then always starting from the top, you're going to round out and come back down.
That was not a good idea.
Round out and come back down. So there I've got a narrow.
How come I ended up with... Oh, you're wanting a refill.
Oh, I didn't say anything, but... So then here, they're getting this narrower and narrower. Because right, we can see the front of this, but these sides you're not going to see as much. So there, and then they kind of come into, scoop in a little earlier. And then you can make your stem, if you're doing a pumpkin with a stem, and then you draw one that goes across the back, one of these segments. So then you have a lot more three-dimensional looking pumpkin.
Wow.
I mean, it's not a huge difference. I probably could have drawn this one a little bit better. But keep that in mind. You can do it, draw the tomato first and then do the segments, or you can start with that middle segment, which I'll do now on my canvas. Let's have another look at this one. Sugar pie pumpkin. Just leave a space, probably about 1/2 inch from the bottom. Brush wise, I'm going to use my number 8. You can use your number 8 or your number 4, whichever one you feel most comfortable with. Your outlines can be thick because as we fill in the pumpkin later, they just get thinner and thinner. So dip your brush in the black, or make your lighter blue if you want to do it that way. Let's set a dot down here where we're going to go down no lower than that. And how about I'll set a dot up here. Let's see, I'm going to measure this. I'm going to eyeball the height of my pumpkin here. What would you say that is, Paul? About 7 inches? 6 inches? Yeah, it's about 6 inches.
About 6, yeah.
So about 6 inches. Eyeball it. It's right about there. And now I'm going to draw my funny, it's like an almond shape. There we go. We have our xenomorph pod. And this is turning into an alien painting. It totally could, couldn't it? It's the right shape, isn't it?
Looks like it.
So now from here, I'm going to round out and scoop back in to hit the bottom here. Then I'm going to do that on this other side. And now another one. Can be a little bit thinner between here and here than this one is. And another one here. You may end up running off the side of the canvas. I mean, probably could just come right up to it. And yeah, that looks pretty good and looks about the size that I want it to be. I could, like, if I wanted to make it wider, I could keep going, but I don't really feel like there's a need to make it bigger than it is here. And I'll let you guys catch up if you're doing that while I cool down with a sip of rosé.
Time to hydrate.
Time to hydrate. Paul and I were talking on the way over here because we pass one of those like fruit stand farms. It's like a modern. It was built, I don't know, 6 years ago or so.
I think it's a little older
so it's
than
not
that.
like somebody's old farm. It's like somebody bought old farmland and built a modern store on it. But they have a big pumpkin patch, and the parking lot's been full for days and days, like no parking spots at all. And there's probably room for how many people to park there, do you think? 50?
Pretty close, yeah.
And they have, a children's area in the background and a pumpkin, quote unquote, patch, which is really just pumpkins kind of set on the ground.
To be fair, they did have a big field of sunflowers.
But Paul and I both, we grew up in the 80s, born in the 70s, but we were the childhood we remember started in the 80s. Neither of us ever remember going to pumpkin patches as young kids. I think that's a newer thing, maybe. Or maybe it's just I don't know, maybe it's just our parents. We always got our pumpkins at the grocery store. So I would love to know, in your guys' case, did you guys go to pumpkin patches as kids? I think it's a newer thing. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember any of my friends being like, "Yo, went to the pumpkin patch this weekend."
We went on a hayride. Okay.
I mean, clearly though, that's
I love
something.
it. It's kind of like a return to that. I think it's. Yeah, Joanna doesn't remember either.
I don't know.
Okay, so real quick, let's go ahead and get this hat. It's going to look like a funny little triangular hat at first. So I'll show you on the picture here. You can see how we start. So we've got this triangle hat. But it does go at an angle. So I'm going to drop down maybe, let's see. I'll drop down about 2 inches, make a mark. And I'm going to see how this is at an angle. So it drops down here, higher up here. Gives your pumpkin a little tilt to its face. And then this is going to come up to a point right above the top peak of this. And then back down. Now this point doesn't show. It gets completely covered by the main part of the witch hat. So if your peak is less than desirable, don't worry about it. I'm going to actually make this hat brim come out a little further because I like a bigger one. And it can go off the side of the canvas. Mine does on the original. I think I have a little bit more going off the side of the canvas in this particular one, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and fill it in. You can use a bigger brush to fill it in. I'm just using my number 8. What does Kim say? New Hampshire. I bet that's so pretty there. We bought pumpkins at a local farm. Can't really have a real pumpkins in Florida. They get mushy in less than a week. I bet they do. But gosh, New Hampshire is it's like totally autumn. That whole state just reminds me of autumn.
So I
Vermont,
remember
Connecticut, New Hampshire.
when I was young, we had, and my sister Sid will remember this, we had an exchange student from England. Her name was Jill. And she was here for Halloween, and she thought it was so funny that we carved pumpkins because where she lived, they carved turnips.
That's like what they did in the long ago pagan days.
Yeah.
How funny. Okay, so this part it's kind of weird, but we're going to do it because it will help the orange really pop on this later. Because if you put the orange right over this background, this background of trees behind here, it's not a super vivid, bright color.
Yes, Jillian,
yeah. I remember your mom telling me some story about you guys making like figgy pudding or something.
I don't know if that happened.
Yeah, I think that's what
I was pretty young.
So I'm going to take my number 8 brush, and I'm going to take some white, and just in these areas, going in between the segment lines. You don't have to go all the way to the top, and you don't have to go all the way to the bottom, because in fact, you can see on this one, it's shaded on the bottom and shaded on the top, because this hat is going to cast a shadow under here, and then there's going to be some shadow in the areas away from the moonlight. So yeah, I'm just doing this bright white in primarily the central, central third of the pumpkin. Using the thin edge of my brush to do this, I'm just kind of wiggling up and down. So I'm curious if any of you guys have watched any Halloween movies, like the Hocus Pocus one, the new one, and what else?
You know which one is kind of campy, but I like is Hubie Halloween. The Adam Sandler one. Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I'm a bit of a Adam Sandler fan. I don't know what that says about me, but
there are some things I didn't like about that movie. Like it almost felt kind of ableist.
It totally did, and it felt like 1995 outdated.
Adam Sandler's humor is a little it's a little cringy sometimes.
But I
Happy
like that
Gilmore was a hit.
But I like that the actress from Happy Gilmore was his love interest.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I feel like it was the intentions of that movie were good, but the execution comes. It's very Adam Sandler. There's just
Sid, you watched Rocky Horror Picture Show? Yes, it does count. It's listed on isn't it listed on the Halloween?
I have never seen it.
Okay, maybe it's not. I saw it listed
No, I've
somewhere
never seen the movie.
as... Oh, okay. I've seen it years ago. Greta and I watched...
We need to do the whole Clinton Street experience for that, because they play it every Saturday night all year long since that movie first came out, I think.
Greta and I watched a movie yesterday called The Cursed, and then today we watched the one that came out in 2016 called The Witch. They're both like pilgrim horror. It was kind of funny.
See, Greta would love the Clinton Street thing.
She would. Okay, so let's go ahead and now address putting the moon on here. You can put it wherever you want. Like, you could put it over here. It will change kind of where your highlighting goes. But if that appeals to you, I think your hat's going to cover most of it too, so keep that in mind. But I think just right about here, again, you can make it smaller by tracing a smaller object or freehanding it. But let's go for it. What did I do? I mixed yellow, orange, and a dab of white. So, smallest brush. And you know what? Let's mix our color with a little bit bigger brush, so we can kind of preserve the pointy tip of that one. So I'm going to do my yellow-orange. So I'm making kind of a high C orange color.
Tang?
Yeah. Sunny Delight.
You know Tang? You know why it's called Tang?
No, I wondered. I remember I mentioned that the other night.
Tangerine.
Oh, duh. So it ends up being kind of a goldenrod color. The white is going to give it opacity.
So what's a goldenrod?
I don't know. The white can turn your color kind of peach, so you just gotta, if that happens, just pull more yellow and orange into it. And you can sort of dab your mix around. You don't have to completely stir it. Doesn't have to be a solid mix. I'm gonna just set my big brush over here. Use this little guy. Hold your coaster down.
Oh. What size brush are you using? Smallest one?
Yeah. And you don't need to do a perfect trace. Like, it doesn't have to be, your lines don't have to be perfectly opaque. They can be just like that. See how it's like running out of paint? You just need to be able to see it. Now I gotta line this back up. Yay.
Goldenrod is a kind of flower?
Wow. That's cool. There. So it's a really poor trace, but I can see the markings. In fact, if I hold this up, you can really see them there. And I'm going to wash this brush.
So that gives a whole new meaning now when I think back to watching Star Wars and Han Solo calling C-3PO Goldenrod.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
They called him a flower.
Huh. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to use it to get the bulk of the paint off of it. And see how I'm leaving some thin spots? Maybe leaving a little blue. What is that noise?
What?
Do you have a frog in here?
I don't hear anything.
Okay, maybe it's your paintbrush. Yeah, that's what it was. All right. Okay, so I am going to now just set this in the water, pick up my number 8 brush. And what I like to do is I like to go around the edges. So I'm using the thin edge of my brush to get close to the edges and then just pull inward. I could mix a little more white with the color.
Be very, very quiet.
We had the most amazing full moon the other night. And as you guys know, I'm a big fan of turning the canvas to get in the areas that I want to get into more conveniently. Yeah, Jupiter's been so close to the moon. It's been really pretty. That is the one thing I will say that's nice about the silver lining to having the non-October weather is it's clear sky at night when we walk, and it's so pretty.
Clear skies at night. Oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 oh.
Okay.
That's not how the lyrics go, but my brain goes that direction sometimes. I think that song goes Red Skies at Night.
Oh, did you see Sid says Clinton Street still does that? And you
Yeah. Like,
So-
literally, Clinton Street Theater has the record for the longest concurrently running movie of all time because they have been running that movie every Friday night since it came out in 1977.
Oh yeah, they were doing it in high school. When I was in high school, it was a big deal to go there.
Yeah.
Well, Sid, we'll have to do that and bring Terry and Greta. Although you probably have to be 21.
I don't think so.
So there, I've got a base fill in. It doesn't need to be anything more than that because we're going to add to this. But not at the moment. Right now, what are we going to do next? We are on step 5. Okay. We're going to start filling in our pumpkin. I skipped ahead for... I did the fill-in of this on step 4, which actually that's good because then this won't really be too wet for when we fill in the orange. And you can use your number 8 brush. This one gets used a lot in this painting. So be careful if you've done what I've done and been sloppy with your orange and you've got all this blue mixed in it. Just pull from the other side. I'm going to start with this big area. And as I come up to the black outlines, a lot of us outline those pretty heavy, very normal. I'm going to thin them out just by painting some orange paint over the top edge of, over the edge of some of those. And this is just a base coat, so it's not going to look super great at first. It'll look kind of streaky and peachy.
What was that?
What was it?
Did you hear it?
What was it? What did you hear?
Like a creaking noise.
Yeah, I did hear that. Maybe you have a ghost here.
Could be, I mean...
So Paul, I think we've told you guys before, his business here at this warehouse, he's a they are a pump manufacturer, and his bread and butter is dog wash systems for like mobile groomers and regular groom shops.
All groomers.
Yeah, all groomers. But we sat in here the other day. I was working on shipping some Go Box stuff, and he was working on his business. And we just sat down and looked through the computer files at all the different groom shops that order product. The names are amazing. They are so funny. My favorite is Versace. I thought that one was brilliant. And then the Fast and the Furriest is another one. These guys are clever. And then there's another one called the Chateau Marmot, and that is actually located on like Beverly.
It is.
Like Los Angeles.
It's in Beverly Hills.
Is it in Beverly Hills?
Yeah. And I've always been a fan of Wizard of Paws.
Wizard of Paws. I think that is so great. And then there was another Doo-Wop Doodle. I thought it was funny.
No, it's not Doo-Wop Doodle. It's yeah, that is one. But
there's Dippity Doo Dog.
Yeah, Dippity Doo Dog was a good one.
They were so great. We were just laughing so hard. Because we've heard them, like, Paul will finish a phone call and be like, that person's shop was named blah, blah, blah. But we haven't actually ever sat down and, like, looked at the list of dog shop names.
Jenny, it looks like you use a tiny amount of paint, but it goes a long way.
For...
That's what Kim just commented.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how that works. Magic. I have a magic brush. This orange, though, I think it's just emulsified or something. It is the perfect viscosity. Is that right? The right term?
Opacity. kind of a combination of both, honestly. It's a little thin, like as far as the
if you were doing
viscosity.
textured work.
Yeah.
So you can see already, because of this going over the blue, I've already got this, and you remember we streaked the white on there. I've already got this natural shading through here, which is great. But I'm going to actually add more, and I make kind of a rust color by mixing orange and just a small amount of black, because this black is going to tint this color down right away. Look at that, the tiniest little dot of black. Look at that. It's amazing how fast it changed it. But it makes it definitely more of a burnt orange color, and you can add more orange to that if you feel like it got too dark. I'm just going to test it out and see if I like it. So I'm going to start down at the bottom. Gosh, I could even go darker. I thought it was too dark. So it's kind of a chestnut color almost. So I'm just streaking that up from the bottom, just sort of adding more to that shading. That helps give the pumpkin the rounder feel. I'm going to have to touch up some of my segment outlines. You can see right there I painted over one. Oops. And then up under the brim of the hat here, you would definitely have some shading. Go right up to that. Use the thin edge of your brush. And just sort of let that brush run out of paint. I'm using the skinny side of my brush in some of these areas as they come down. Don't worry, we'll come back in with some more orange, and that will help soften these shaded areas a bit. But my goal here is just want to cover up any blue that's poking through. You can always touch up this black edging on the hat. And let me see. So this segment here is the furthest away from the light. So it's going to be pretty dark. It could almost be this fully dark, rusty color with just a little bit of orange poking through. And yeah, this is pretty harsh, especially I can see it on the camera. It's not a soft blend at all, but when I add more orange to this, it's going to completely change that up. So for now, we're just going to let this hang out. Wash the brush. What next? What next? I'm just looking.
I give you permission.
I'm just trying to decide. I think I could actually come in now with a second coat of orange, focusing on these bright areas and then just blending out into both the shaded areas. So this second coat of orange is going to not only soften, look at that, that's such a cool difference. You can see the difference here. Look how blended that is as opposed to these, which are just like super sharp edges. But this is also going to help if your pumpkin was looking kind of peach because of the white underneath. This is going to help that. So, do a lot of you guys get trick-or-treaters? We used to. Our neighborhood was really young when we moved in there 20 years ago.
Yep.
But now I think most of the parents have stayed. So, I mean, it's a great neighborhood, I have to say. The schools are amazing. Low crime. Feels super safe. So a lot of people haven't moved away. So the kids are grown up and they're in college. And they were all our hundreds of trick-or-treaters we used to get. And now we get maybe, I don't know how many we had last year, 5?
3?
Yeah,
maybe
just
3.
Between 3 and 5.
We used to get, we used to literally get like 100, 150, and
now we end up with a lot of leftover candy, which Paul likes to eat.
I do.
All right, so I'm going to leave my pumpkin alone for a bit and go back to the moon. I'm gonna switch to my biggest brush.
What do you guys think? Candy corn, yay or nay?
Yeah, yay or nay?
Like, it's not my favorite thing, but I don't get the hatred for it.
What does Triana say?
Secretly, we turn off all the lights and hide in our room and eat pizza and watch scary movies.
Dude,
You know,
that's amazing.
that's actually really smart.
I'm gonna add some more. I'm gonna add just a little more yellow, just yellow only to the moon.
That's actually kind of what we did last year. Because remember, Greta went to a friend's house and...
Yeah, it was just Paul and I, which felt so weird, because where was Hayden?
He was home.
Okay, he was up in his room. But I was going to say, was he with your parents?
No. My parents always used to come over for Halloween because where they lived, they literally had like 3 trick-or-treaters in 50 years.
And they were always just the nieces and nephews.
Yeah. So they always used to come over to our house, but then they finally downsized and moved to a neighborhood and had 150 trick-or-treaters or something like that.
Yeah, Paul and I last year on Halloween, like I said, our daughter was off at her high school friend's party, and we watched like both Conjuring. Did we watch all 3 Conjuring?
We
movies?
did.
Wow, it's a Conjuring night.
Why a yellow moon as opposed to a white one? That's a good question. I wondered that myself.
I was going for a full harvest moon effect here, and I just think of October as having like the orangey yellow moons, and it does seem like, I don't know if it's just that they're lower in the atmosphere and it gives them, is that what it is, Paul, that it makes them look so huge and orangey in tone?
It's not so much that they're lower on the horizon, but it could be there are elements of the atmosphere that affect it, though.
I'm going to add a little
more humidity,
bit more orange here,
stuff like that,
just to see that, how these peachy areas. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just always think of harvest moon. I think of October. And there is something, too, about having this orange. It does this tricky thing where this is one of my art professors used to say this. You want to design your paintings so they keep the eye moving across your canvas, so people aren't just focused on one thing. Like if I just had the pumpkin and no moon, you would only be drawn to this. Having the moon there, it does sort of balance this out. And I could have it in white, but I don't know. I think with the design of this, it feels like it should be this golden color. So I guess that was just a hunch. Me liking the harvest moons and a little bit of a hunch going on. So I did leave some darker spots in the moon to represent craters, but I do end up going back and adding more because you can see this one's a lot more cratery than that one. So I added some of the darker color in there and then glazed back over it with this golden color. We'll do that later. We need it to dry a bit. Gonna wash the brush. We don't have a ton more to do on this painting. We got the base stuff out of the way. Real quick though, I'm gonna use my number 4 brush, so my second smallest, and you can use black or you can mix orange and black and make a dark chestnut color, which I actually prefer that, and re-outline these segment lines if needed. So I'm using the skinny edge of the brush. Keeping them pretty thin. Mine feels like it kind of comes down to a point right here, so I'm just gonna paint some dark over that because we're gonna have some grass over this later anyways, and that'll help keep it from being too pointy. So do any of you guys buy those warty pumpkins? You know which ones I'm talking about, Paul?
Yeah, the ones that look like my mushrooms from last year.
Yeah, they have, like, are covered in warts. I think those are the coolest. We buy them, but I've never tried carving one of those. I don't think you could. I think they're the type of pumpkin that probably has to be cut with an axe, like chopped in half with an axe. My dad used to do that. They would, I think, a Hubbard squash or one of the squashes. I just remember him chopping it with an axe so my mom could cook it.
So what's the deal with my parents already carving their pumpkins?
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Wow, they're just really getting into it.
Well, my dad.
I got a spot. Yeah, your dad. He loves it. He loves all the kids coming around. He loves living in a neighborhood. Finally, although they had a beautiful setting where they were before. It felt like a park, but yeah, very, not a lot of people. Not really, didn't really ever feel like a neighborhood.
It wasn't a neighborhood.
There was a neighborhood built around it.
Kind of.
Kind of.
2 houses.
Mm. So those make delicious pumpkin stew. I have never tried to cook one. Wow. I actually love all kinds of pumpkins and squash. What does Kim say? Last year we bought our granddaughter orange gourds for her to paint. Oh, yeah. Okay, so yes, we have a video on our YouTube channel. It was the first year of doing Go Box 2019, and I do a pumpkin painting video. And I don't even know what you search for. Maybe just pumpkin. If you just type in pumpkin on our YouTube page, you probably will find it. But I did an owl. Did I do something else too? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
But yeah, you guys can use that video. It's fun.
Yeah, we didn't ever sell a kit for it. It was just a...
Yeah, you just use some of your leftover acrylic paint. It sticks on those pumpkins so good. You just want to make sure that your pumpkin is at room temperature, because any condensation will be a pain, and cleaned and dried off. And you do have to wait a bit of time between coats of paint.
Yeah.
But if you do that, you'll get this nice opaque layer. And I've painted like Jack Skellington faces on our pumpkins. And I usually paint one every year. Okay, let's see. Let's add some more shadows to our moon. So I'm going to use my number 8 brush, and I'm going to use this color. So actually just mix blue and orange. Running out of room on my palette here. So there's blue, a little orange. And I'll add, I'm going to add just some of this yellow to it. It's not a pretty color. It is kind of a swampy color. And I'm going to tap in my areas that would be like the Sea of Tranquility, which is that big canyon on the moon. And when we stare at the moon and we see the face in the moon, part of that is the Sea of Tranquility. So if you think of this as an uneven, like I think I said in another video, think of it like you're looking at the Grand Canyon from a satellite view. It's going to be not just one round area. It's going to be really spread out, almost like little continents.
So Kim wants to know if the pumpkins, if a 3-year-old is too young for acrylic paint.
Acrylic paint is non-toxic. It's probably okay.
It's like, safe in that regard.
We had kids that young painting. You just mainly want to make sure they, keep it out of their mouth. That's the only thing.
Well, even then, I mean, it's not going to hurt them.
Yeah, it's non-toxic. And just make sure you just tie them to the table so they can't move and get paint throughout your house.
Yeah. I kind of think that like 3 years old with painting, like we used to get people a lot that would ask about like teaching kids who are 3 or 4 and like wanting them to take lessons and stuff and or
put
private
them in their
lessons.
high chair.
And it's like, at that age, just give them brushes, put a drop cloth down, put a smock on them, and let them have
Rock
fun.
on with their smock on.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to dry, and then I will glaze over it with a little yellow. And if yours is a lot darker than mine, that glaze that we'll add is going to help a lot. Mine right now is really close to this, and that's only because I think I made a little bit lighter mix. But I want to highlight my house now, and we want to use our littlest brush, and let's mix yellow and orange. So we want to think about the colors of the moonlight. So you want to make whatever your major color in your moon is. And I don't want a ton of paint on my brush, so I'm going to like pull. I'm off the camera here. I'm just going to like pull and twist my brush, and then I'll redip the tip of the bristles. And I'm going to come along this edge here. So the outermost edge of your roof line right here is going to be hit by a blast of moonlight. Let's zoom in, Paul. Okay. This is still kind of glary. And then this too, right along here. And the top edge, top of the roof line, like the roof peak. What do they call that part? It has a name.
Peak?
No, it has a different name. I'm gonna wipe my brush off. Well, I'm thinking of a different name. So I'm just kind of smearing some of this golden color back.
The gable?
Yes, the gable. I think it's called the gable. And you can even do little lines like I am right now, so it looks like roof tiles. Ugh, this is too glary. Look at that. There we go. But back in here is going to stay dark. So you might even have to wipe your brush off and just smudge what little paint you've got on here backwards.
Our van, when we would go, we had it fully wrapped. We don't have it wrapped right now, but it used to have these big decals on it that said "Get Smocked."
People are like, "What does that mean?"
We had a lot of fun actually one night. I think we probably had a couple glasses of wine, thinking of all the inappropriate replacements that we could use the word "smocked" for. Then we were like, should we use it? Would people like get it, or would we offend people?
So my haunted house has lights on in the windows. The ghosts are at home, and I have 4 on the front and then just 1 on the side over here. They are literally just just right at the edge of this triangle here. Like, think of this as being a dark area. I just pulled downward. I didn't draw perfect rectangles. I kind of just wanted the glow of the light here. Maybe 1 over here. You could do more than that too if you want. And you can do different window shapes. If you wanted to do like a round one up in here, you totally could. I won't be offended. And I could add just a littlest bit of orange to my yellow. I really like warm light in the windows. So if I added, you can, actually no, don't zoom out yet. So if I added just a little more orange to that. Kind of warm, do some little warm spots in orange. Like maybe there's some candelabras burning in there. I like it.
I like that a lot.
I like it a lot. You can zoom out. Very easy. And the cool thing is like my highlighting's maybe a little, like this is a little more subtle. This got a little lighter through here. I could come back in with this dark slate color and soften that up. But I don't really feel like I need to. I think it's okay. Okie dokie. Now, real quick, before we draw the hat on, I want to touch up, glaze over any spots on the moon. So you can use just yellow or you can mix a little orange with it. And if you want to lightly, see how much paint I have on my brush? Such a small amount. You can lightly glaze over the dark spots. That's going to subdue them a bit. If you feel like you've got them where you like them, I wouldn't even bother with glazing over. And maybe don't even glaze over every single part. Maybe have some parts that are darker. So glaze over some of it, but leave some parts darker. That would be very cool. Oh wait, we're missing some of these. Just reading your guys' comments. Paul got into his painting too much.
Sorry. You do the same thing, though.
I do. Cute. You guys talking about your grandkids. So I can see along the top edge here, I can see the white canvas. You can paint all the edges when you're completely done. I just wrap that black color right around and just have it ready to hang up. Put it in the front window, whatever you want to do with it. We like to have a shelf, like floating shelves. You just lean it against the wall and change them out seasonally. That's easy. All right.
Actually, I think floating shelves are a great way to display these types of paintings,
Yeah,
especially
for sure.
if you change them out periodically.
So what I want to do now, before we draw the witch hat on, I want to get some of this golden color down on the pumpkin. So I'm going to mix somewhere on my palette yellow and orange. So you get orange, but like your pumpkin's orange, but this will add some yellow to it as well. And I'm just going to come into these areas where the moon would probably highlight. So along this edge, maybe in this one. Maybe a little bit more on this side. Not so much over here and here, but if you want more of a yellowish pumpkin, you totally could do that. Why not? I like this adding the yellow on here because it kind of gives it that lit from within look that jack-o'-lanterns have. Because we know there's a candle in there somewhere. I love the look of jack-o'-lanterns with the candles in them. I know they make those little battery-operated tea lights, and they're great for keeping the fire hazard down, but they just don't look quite the same.
They don't smell the same either.
No, they don't. I am totally messing up right here.
Are you doing too much?
No, I just had a little overage. Need to re-outline that area. Wash, wash, wash. I know I've kind of skipped around on my steps, so if you follow the sheets with me, you follow these steps. Sometimes I'll do some steps out of order, and a lot of times it's just me waiting for certain parts to dry when teaching it. But let's go ahead and carry on. Let's go ahead and draw the witch hat now. And don't be worried about this part. It's pretty easy. You can draw it with a pencil first if you want. Pencil graphite lines will show up here. I'm going to use my number 8 brush, and I made kind of a hooked hat. Let's have a look. Because I wanted to be able to dangle a spider off of it, and it can overlap the moon. I was actually trying to get it to overlap the moon when I painted this, but it just didn't work out to be close enough to make sense. So you can, if yours overlaps the moon, you're awesome. I love it. If not, you're going to be just like mine.
And if not, you're still awesome.
You're still awesome. So I'm going to come up on this side, and then I just start curling over a bit. And this side's going to meet it, and you can see, obviously, we want it to get thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And I need to switch to a small brush before I really hook this over. So you can fill this in. You can use either your number 8 brush or your biggest brush. I make pretty bold strokes with this number 8 brush, so I'm just going to use it. Cool. I hope you guys post some of these on our Facebook group. I would love to see them. I love these fun ones that are real illustrative and holiday-ish. I'm just going to round this out. If you have a real sharp edge here where it kind of meets at a 90-degree angle, you can round it out a bit. And now I'll switch to my smallest brush to curl that in even more. Although I don't really have to. I could still dangle a spider off of that. It's just the Tim Burton in me wants to curl it way over. So I want to use the smallest brush. I was 18 years old working in a movie theater when The Nightmare Before Christmas came out. And it ran at this movie theater for ages. It was one of those older vintage theaters where the tickets are always like $6. My uncle actually owns it. Still does. He's almost 90. But anyway, yeah, I worked there, and Nightmare Before Christmas came out in October, and I watched it so many times, and I just became the hugest Tim Burton fan. I'm his #1 fan.
But how do you feel about his Batman movies?
I liked them, actually. I thought they were pretty good. They were funny. I didn't like this. I liked the first one. I didn't like the one with, like, Penguin and the second. And did he do 3?
Trying to remember.
We can go ahead and do the stars now, I think. I was going to have us do the spider, but we want to do the stars first. I guess it doesn't really matter, but we're going to do the stars first. So I want to use our technique that we always use where we're using the handle of the brush.
Why not?
This little pointy... I love this particular set of brushes. Has a really pointy end to the smallest brush on the handle, so it works perfect for stars. I just dip it in the white, and wow, look at the glare on the palette. You can't even see the white paint. Move it over here. So I dip it in the white paint, stamp it a couple times on the palette, so I have small stars to start off with. And go ahead and dot them wherever you want. They can even extend into some of the side areas that have the black edging.
Yes, Edward Scissorhands. He's a good one.
Edward Scissorhands for Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Of course, Beetlejuice.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully I was right on that.
Edward Scissorhands was different, though, because like the way he did the whole suburban neighborhood was so not what he normally does. It's just obviously the house at the hill on the hill was Tim Burton style, but that little suburban neighborhood with all the busybody women was so different.
Huh. Kind of felt like our neighborhood.
You know, at some point they're going to redo the Edward Scissorhands movie.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
I'm sure. They redo all the good movies.
They haven't remade Star Wars. Yet. They probably should.
Well, they just added on to that. They probably knew the fan base would, like, be violent. So if you like the look of these glowing stars, they can be a little bit tricky. Some people love them. Let me rephrase that. Some people love making them. Some people hate making them. And most people love the look of them. But if you want to do that, you'll want to stamp a dot. And while it's still wet, you use your finger and just really light. I'm not pressing hard at all. It's just like literally just gliding the very tip of my finger on the canvas. And then you'll go back and you'll stamp a white dot in the middle. So you've got this glowing orb. So I'll do one up here too. I think that the complication that happens a lot of times you end up with too big. Or what you think is too big. I feel like they can be big and it's not a problem. Too big of orbs or they're kind of oval shaped. If you end up with an oval shaped one, just redo it. Start the process over. Just stamp a wet dot right on top of it and redo it. These are fun though. I just love the little glowing. I've got this really big funky star here. I might turn it into a glowy star. And just come back and put that white dot in the center. So it just looks like a star through the fog. And oh, Joanna, your stars the other day, I wanted to tell you they looked great. They were evenly spaced. They looked amazing. on your moon. What is that painting called, Paul? Moonlit Sonata? Yeah. I loved all the stars on yours. I'm like the more the merrier when it comes to stars. I thought it turned out good. Okay, so yeah, you can extend some of these stars into the black area. Like up here, to me, I feel like I need to put some stars up there because it just feels too like left alone. And I think it will look better. We'll see. I think it will look better with some stars up in there. All right. Just make sure you wipe off the handle of your brush when you're done. Otherwise, you get a dry glob that stays on there forever. And we'll paint our spider in a minute. So what we have left to do is the spider, the highlights on the hat, and the face, the grass. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's all easy stuff. And then if you want to decorate the hat, you can. Let's talk about that spider. So the web, I did in black, but I highlighted it with the moonlight color. When I did it in black, like as soon as I painted it on, I was like, oh crap, it probably should be white. But I thought later on, I was like, you know what, it's probably, because it's dark out, it might be silhouetted. You probably technically wouldn't see the web, but we'll do it in black, or unless you want to do white, and then we highlight it with the golden moon color. Now look at my spider's legs. They're very sharp. Like they look like sevens, kind of like on the right side. They look like sevens. On the left side, they're backward sevens, and they can just kind of dangle down long. If you want to do a cuter spider, you can. This is kind of a little bit of a crunchy boy.
Magical glitter bugs. I like it.
Yes. So here is how I draw the spider itself, because I know you guys will want to see that first. Gosh, I'm running out of room. I'm going to tear off another sheet. I need to keep some blank paper nearby. So I've got the hat that curls. That's really bad. That is really bad. Pretend I didn't do that.
I think people get the gist of it.
So I do a little dangly web. It's not like a ramen noodle wavy. It's just like gently wavy. And then I do an oval shaped body. And then I start right here. I go out and then down. And then I do that over here too. And then the next one, just keep in mind, they're going to touch each other. They're going to overlap. It might feel uncomfortable. So I come out and just do a sharp angle down. You want to do 4 on each side. And even way back here, you would have them and they come out and they just dangle down. If you want to do the little mandibles, you can. But that's how we do the spider. Other ways you can do a spider. Let's see.
Can you show how to make a happy spider?
You don't like the crunchy boy? Yes, I'll make a happy spider right now. Okay, so for a happier spider,
that's actually a challenge because you got to rely on body language.
Yeah, I would do like more rounded legs, like this.
Yeah, that's true.
Because these ones definitely have that kind of like the spider you don't want to find climbing above you on the ceiling when you're in bed. And then the other thing I've done when I've done more of a happy spider is after the body dries, I've come back in with white and I've made little eyes. And I can't do it right now because this is really wet. There, I guess I can kind of do it. And then I actually, even just floating below, not attached to anything, I do a little smile. So that's what you could do. Just more, rather than the legs that come out and go like that, they're going to be more like this. Oops, that was a little, what am I doing? I'm not drawing well tonight. So yeah, that would be the difference.
You know, that's actually something that's good.
What?
Well, I know and you know that there are some days that we paint better than other days.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people, I feel, they sometimes feel frustration by that, but you know what? It's just normal.
So I want to water down my black paint because anytime we're drawing and making something long, like this web is going to be a little bit longer, we want to have the paint liquefied, because your littlest brush will run out of paint right away, and it's always a pain to have to stop, reload your brush, and then try to start again without making it look like you stopped and restarted. So liquefying your paint a bit will help. Now I have a lot of paint on my brush from mixing it in, so I want to pull and twist, or wipe it on your towel, re-dip the tip of the bristles.
I thought we were going to collaborate and listen.
Stop, collaborate, and listen. Now your web can come off right here. If you did a hook like mine and you go down here, your spider might be too close to the hat. So you can dangle it off this end if you want. You can make a shorter web. I just got to figure out, let's see, I think my spider needs to be right about here. So I'm going to come down right about here. A little web. It looks like a little thread. And make the body. Fill that in. I have really bad arachnophobia, like if it's traumatizing. I don't know, it's just something I've always had. And I've tried to make myself...
I think Sid does too.
Yeah, I've tried to make myself start being okay with it, because if you have that bad arachnophobia and you're driving along on the freeway and there's a spider in your car, it can be paralyzing. And obviously you don't want to be in that situation on a freeway. And so I try to work with that. I'm going to go ahead and make my legs while I talk. So I'm going to start way down here. And what I have done is I've Googled pictures of spiders, the close-up views where you can see all their eyes and they look fuzzy and their eyes are real big and they look kind of cute. And I've painted them. I've painted watercolors of them. You can see them on my my art Instagram, which is called the Juniper Owl Art. And there's like hyphens between each word. But I've got lots of pictures of their Mexican jumping spiders because they are so cute and they have the fuzziest legs. And then I follow this woman on TikTok called, I think she's called the Insect Lady, and she raises those Mexican jumping spiders, and she does these videos with music, and you would think you're looking at like the cutest stuffed animal ever, and she makes them like they have personalities. And so yeah, if you have paralyzing arachnophobia like I do, like I've gotten to the point where if there is a spider in the bedroom upstairs, instead of having Paul come crush it, I'm like, okay, use a tissue paper, and unless it's a real crunchy one, like a hobo spider, those aren't supposed to be here in Oregon. And so I'm like, okay, you can take care of that one. They're not native. I've got a smudge there I'm going to fix real quick.
I'm a fan of, like, as far as, yeah, those ones, because they're poisonous. And
yeah, they give you what's called a necrotic spider bite.
Yeah, and my mom got bit by one and had a pretty bad sore for a while. But I'm a fan of the vacuum with the extension wand.
Yeah, so those kind that do the bites that become flesh-eating wounds, I'm okay with that. But others like daddy long legs, I'll just...
We have a bunch of daddy long legs here at work, and Stephanie names them. She comes in and she's like, "Oh, hello, Hector."
Yeah. Okay, so there is my little spider with those long dangly legs. Here I'll do eyes real quick, so that why not? We're just, it's Friday night, we're having fun. I'm gonna do 2 little dots. So he's got eyes, and that makes him, I guess, maybe a little bit cuter. And while he's drying, I'm gonna go ahead and, let's see here. Actually, I'm gonna do the grass next, I think. Just seeing what will be better time-wise. Yeah, let's do the grass. What did I do? Black and orange, I think is what we used. Oh, it's black. And then we highlight it. Okay. I am going to use, you want to use either your number 4 or your number 8 brush. I'm going to use my number 8. I'm going to use that watered down black that I used. No, it's when I say watered down, that's kind of a loose term. It's not really watery. It's just thinner. I'm going to use the thin edge of the brush, come under the pumpkin, and it's kind of just like a little flick. Swish and flick. There we go. We're Harry Potter. Swish and flick. And I do put some short pieces that come up on the bottom of the pumpkin. Maybe some are this way. If you're worried about doing that and you don't think you can do that and have it look well, I just leave it. Just have it go under the pumpkin and off to the side here. So that going over the bottom of the pumpkin, completely optional. And if you do get the random grass blade that you really don't like, you can paint over it. Like I've got one right here I don't really love, but I think it'll be okay. Once I get the face on the pumpkin, it's not really going to be noticeable. Nobody should be looking at that. And you can bring this grass out as far as you want. You can. It's kind of bended over. It's not like upright. I like it over the fog. That's really nice and silhouetted.
It's a pumpkin nest.
Oh, Hagrid died today. Oh,
What?
I learned that just now. Hagrid, the actor, what's his name?
Robbie Coltrane.
Robbie Coltrane, yeah.
Wow, really?
Rip. I loved him. He was so great.
He wasn't that old, was he?
I don't know. Don't know. You just never know, like, what people's health is. And
Well, I mean,
all
he's a big guy, so I mean, he's not Hagrid big, but
All right. He's Googling it.
72.
Oh, 72. Huh. He seemed a little bit younger than that. But you know what? It's funny because you think of him 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I like your web you added. Quit going extra. Paul added a little web right here, which I can show you guys. I guess at the end. You probably don't want me to show it now.
I don't care.
Okay, pass it on over. He's always going extra with
It's
everything.
not really extra, though.
Look at that. Isn't that fun? I like the clouds over the moon, too. That's another thing that you can do. And his moon is more greenish. And,
It's green cheese.
yeah, but that fun spider web in the curl, that's a good idea. If you're going to do that, Google spider web drawing, and you can see how they're constructed, because there's different special techniques.
It's harder than you might think, too.
Yeah. You can end up with a checkerboard real easy. Let's get the face on this guy. Okay, so any face that you want. You can do triangle eyes and a triangle nose. You can leave it at that. Like I love pumpkin drawings where it's just the eyes and nose. I think that's really cute, and it's just kind of, it's expressionless, but it doesn't look unfriendly. This one, I did a more complicated mouth. It's not that bad, but it takes a little more thought, like I said. Color-wise, to paint that face, we want to mix black and orange. So we get a dark color that's not completely black. It's just kind of a brownish black. So I'll take off some orange here. Do you have any extra orange over there?
I do.
Let me grab a scrape.
Glop you off a bit of that.
And then some black. So it's dark, almost black. Like you guys would probably look at that and think it was black. But it's not. It's a trick. You can add a drop of water to that too, just to liquefy it a little bit without making it too watery. And you'll probably want to use one of your smaller brushes to draw the face. So either your smallest one or the number 4. I will use the smallest one, I think, to draw the outline of the stuff. So where you put your face, this one I have kind of a 3/4 view, so the face is really squished over this side. But you could do a front-on view depending on how your pumpkin is laid out. Like on this one, I almost feel like, just thinking about, I'll do it like the original just because that's what you guys have your box for. So I'm going to do an eye right here. It's about the size of a little bit smaller than a ping pong ball. And I'll do another one right here. And I don't want to fill those in quite yet. I'll instruct us on that part in a minute. And then I just go somewhere between them. It can be up high. I think when you have the nose up high, it gives it a cuter look, like if it's really high up between the eyes. And you can do a small triangle like this one, or you can do a little bit taller like that one. But I will show you one of the things I did that was like too much instruction to put on the pages. So I just said fill them in and then add the rind color. But what I did was I actually came through and did this. So see how I drew that in and then I fill in this part so I have the rind color showing up. And then I do that over here too. And in a little bit, we're going to actually paint yellow over those because the rind is a little bit lighter than the base of the pumpkin itself. So it does look good having it be yellow. Although it's not bad like that. And then on the triangle nose, you're going to have this side would show. So this is what it would look like with no mouth. I think it's really cute that way. But I'm going to show you guys how to do this interesting mouth. I'll grab my piece of paper.
Now I'm like really bummed out.
About Hagrid?
Yeah.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so we've got our pumpkin eyes. Round. Round. I'll probably have Paul zoom in. I just realized I could have had him do that. I'm getting used to this newfangled technology. So there's my pumpkin eyes. Now for this...
Do you want me to zoom in?
Mouth. Yeah, you could. You could.
Pumpkin eyes.
Pumpkin eyes.
One look at you and I can't deny.
I can't even remember the lyrics. You know, that song was in my head the other day. That's so
Oh
weird.
my goodness.
Okay, so I gave my pumpkin sharp teeth, so I'm doing a smile, and then every once in a while I'm going to come down and do an upside down triangle. Like a fang.
Now, here's bonus points if you can name who the singer of that is.
I can't. I will tell you that.
Anybody? Anybody?
Yeah, if you can name Hungry Eyes singer without Googling it.
Without Googling it.
So that's how I did the top
And I'm going to
part.
tell Jenny so she knows that I know.
I knew that was the first name. Okay. Okay, so we've got the top part of the mouth drawn right here. That's that part. And now for the bottom, what you need to do is your bottom fangs, they're going to be right side up triangles. So just make this like you're painting a smile. And then do them in between. And I think, yeah, I just have two on the bottom.
Wasn't Hall & Oates. This was I'll give you a hint, it was a one-hit wonder.
It was in the movie Dirty Dancing.
It was. And actually, if I remember correctly, the singer, the reason he got that particular song is because he was not a known actor and they had no budget.
Ooh, okay.
So...
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the rind on
Let's do
this
it.
one. So our rinds are all on the right side. So they're going to be on the right side of each tooth. Or actually, no, I'm wrong. This is the right. This is the right. So yeah, on the on the top teeth they're going to be on the left. On the bottom teeth they're going to be on the left. Over here, that's okay. Then over here it's going to be on the right. I'm confused. We'll just paint it. We'll just paint it without incident.
Nice.
Okay, I'm just going to go for it. If you want to do the mouth, you can go for it too. Nice big smile. Starts right under the eye. Little sharp fang here. Maybe one right under the nose. Traveling up to the other eye, I'm going to put one right here. Ooh, so scary. And you can make the mouth really wide open, or you can have it just be slightly open. So I'm going to come down now. Sharp tooth up. Right here. And then complete that shape. Just like you're carving a pumpkin, but with paint. And then when you fill it in, you can leave a little sliver of the color like that. Right there. And you need to leave one here. And when I remember now, when I painted the original, I got a little bit off and confused. So I painted the whole mouth dark and then painted the rind color over the top. So if that happens, no big deal. It's just exactly what I did when I painted the original. Sometimes it's easier to just go back to basics. I've got a little sliver of pumpkin rind right in this lower right area. I think what it is doing both the bottom and the top can get, with bangs, can be a little, make your brain have to work a little extra hard.
Okay, so nobody's coming up with it. So it's Eric Carmen.
Only you would know that, Paul. And you know it's funny, you guys? Paul has never seen Dirty Dancing, which is
never seen it.
He has never seen it. Can you believe it? I've seen that movie so many times.
Which is why I've never seen it. Because I'm always like, hey, we should watch it. And you're like, nope.
That's not true. You're such a liar. There. Okay. Face on. You can zoom out, Paul. Oh, yeah. Yeah, saying you can make a paper cutout and trace it on your pumpkin. Yeah, I think, Kim, you're right. Drawing it with a pencil first is a great idea. I know it's after the fact, but if you're just watching this and you're planning on painting it later, get your pencil out when you paint it and just have it handy nearby. I'm going to touch up something real quick. And also just remember, I need some of your orange again. Just remember you can do a completely different mouth. I just did one that was maybe a little more complicated than it needed to be. Ugh. What is happening? I think I've got some dark paint from my brush coming out. Okay, so I am going to highlight the grass really quick while the face dries. And I'm using my number 8 brush. I have yellow and orange mixed together down here. I need to add a little more yellow to it. Make a bit of that because we're going to use it to highlight the hat and the spider and all that. So using the thin edge of my brush, think of the moonlight casting down. Don't wipe your brush off if you have too much paint. I just realized I had too much. You could even use one of your smaller brushes. Like maybe I'll switch to this number 4. So think of the moonlight coming down and just hitting the top edge of this grass. So you're just going to see a little highlight. I like this because it makes it look kind of like straw. And here's the original, so you can have a reference. So I didn't highlight any of this down here. It's not touched by the moonlight, but right in here, definitely.
Type A. That doesn't. Lots of people are type A. Kim says she's type A and has to paint it exactly the way we paint it.
I am totally type A, and I try to micromanage everything. So I have to, like, remind myself a lot of times. Okay, calm down. You don't need that. It was especially noticeable when I ran my in-studio business because we didn't teach every class. We had staff, and I would always feel like, oh, you know, I got to make sure they know that if they do it this way, blah, blah, blah. And it's funny. You realize later on after it's all done, oh, well, I could have calmed down a little. All right, I think I need you to zoom out just a little bit more, maybe one more click. Okay, so our moonlight definitely is going to highlight this side of the hat. Let's have a look at the original again. We're almost done here. So it's going to highlight the top edge of this curl, and then down in here, and then across here. You can even come across the bottom just a little bit. And cool things you can add, like I have a stronger yellow highlight right on the very edge. You can add that here. Why not? I think go for it. I'm going to do it real quick. So I love adding the yellow to this orange. I just think it's so cool. Okay, so I've got yellow and orange mixed together on my palette somewhere here. And you can use your smallest brush to get on the edge of this curl here. So thinking about the moonlight, just kissing the edge of the hat. And I'll just kind of go down. So I'm going to get the right edge of this spider web. And you don't even have to, like, you can have a broken up line. It doesn't have to be every single, like, you don't have to do a full line of highlight. You could even highlight your spider. I think I did. Yeah, on my original I did little highlights on the legs. Oops, that was really thick. That's hard. Those legs are so skinny. I'm going to set that little brush in the water, and now I'm going to go to this one. So using the thin edge of this brush, I like to just do some broken up lines coming down the hat here. Like, it doesn't have to be a solid one line. Do a little highlight along the top brim here. Come down along the edge. And this is something you can build on. So if it starts off and once it dries, if it ends up being a little darker than you want, go in and add just a bit more. And it doesn't have to be every single spot. Maybe just one or two spots are grabbing more light than others. If you feel like your grass needs some extra pieces that have extra highlights, I always think that looks good. You can see I use my finger a lot to smudge things out. I've got a blade of grass there. It's an unhappy little accident. Just going to use a little water on my brush to sort of smudge that out. Pretend it wasn't there.
That spider is nuclear powered.
And now I'm the last things I'm going to do, I'm going to decorate the hat. All I did was using the handle of the smallest brush, I just did 2 lines of orange dots. You can do whatever you want. You can paint a ribbon across here if you want. You can do white polka dots throughout the whole entire hat. You can do anything. And then I'm going to paint yellow over the rind part. So that looks like a slightly lighter color. I want to use, I guess I'll just use my smallest brush for that. For the rind area. Smallest brush, yellow paint. And you can make these rind area. What are you doing over there?
I'm drying my paint.
You can make them thicker too if needed. I like the expression on this guy because he's kind of side-eyeing us a little bit, like, hey, I see you.
How you doing?
How you doing?
How you booing?
How you booing? I'm Mr. Pumpkin.
That was pretty. That was quick.
How you booing?
Oh, Guardian of the Galaxy is awesome.
Yes, that is.
And the whole storyline of the music is part of, I mean, it's a thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, decorate your hat. Do anything you want. I am out of orange, so I'm gonna do yellow. And I'll just do a little close together dots. The nice thing is, whatever you do with the decorating of the hat, if it's something that you really don't care for, you know what you have to do. You let it dry, you paint black over it, and you start over. So this time I'm making my dots a lot more close together than I did on the original, just to do something different. Bink, 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 bonk. So cute. I think I've done everything. Just taking a quick peek at my original sitting right here. Everything but sign it. So I'm ready to sign mine. Any color you want to do. I'm going to steal. Can you dip that in orange, please? Or yeah, just do that. Stealing some of Paul's orange. Now when I sign my painting, I like to liquefy the paint just a little bit. Because if you're doing your initials or something, it's always nice to not have to break that up. Most of the time I end up having to retrace these.
What do you mix with that orange paint to make like a coral color? If you've got a little bit of
red or phthalo red.
Phthalo red at home.
But even just regular red, just a little bit, and you'll get a perfect coral color. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to change something real quick. Not just change it, I'm going to just edit. Needed one more dot. See that? That's me micromanaging. That's my OCD. I needed one last little dot over here. But yeah, that's it. Little things you could do to add to this. You could put some cross graves in the backdrop, kind of the way Paul did his haunted house. Let's have a look. So like he did these. So you'd want to use just a color that's maybe one shade darker than this foggy area that you have. And you can put some gravestones in there. You can brighten up the moon. If the moon is turned kind of green, which can happen because we painted that moon over blue, you can add a bit more white to it. You could even like glaze over the whole thing with white and see how that looks. When I say glaze, I mean a very, very thin coat so that you can see that yellow through it. And you can just kind of start with it being lighter and gradually add some yellow and orange. But yeah, I feel like I could add some pupils to my spider now. I'm going to use the brush end of this little brush. I'm trying to think here. Maybe I'll make him looking down. He's looking down at the pumpkin. Oh no, he's wall-eyed. He's looking opposite directions. Super fun. I enjoyed painting this one. It turned out really close to the original, which is kind of funny because sometimes they're hard to get exact when you're doing faces. But let's see Paul's. You ready to show yours?
Yeah, I got a little bit of an area that needs some touch up after it dries, but
okay.
I decided to make a little addition to the face, and then it was like, okay, I guess it shows up on there.
Oh, I love it. Yours is very Looney Tunes. It has like a really Looney Tunes face, don't you think?
A little bit.
And there's a little glare on your...
Yeah, so I was trying to add the little bits, the little...
Like the round, yeah, like the... So you just need a second coat there.
Yeah, it was just too wet.
I do really like this. So Paul's ended up going over the moon. I love that look. I think it really is nice, and I kind of wish mine had done that. And the other thing too, I like the clouds from the top coming in over the moon, and it looks like you put a cross up at the top
it's
here.
Just like it's not a cross, it's just a weather vane.
Oh, it's a weather vane. And he put some eyes in the woods, so that's just yellow, and you just make two like slanted lines. Mm-hmm. And you need to highlight your grass.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna leave the grass.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it looks really nice silhouetted against the fog there. Your fog looks great. And then he also added some branches to some of these trees to make them look a little bit more natural.
You know which part I think, like looking at mine, the windows on the house.
What about them?
They really pop.
Okay, so yeah, it looks like you had white.
I used a little bit of white
there.
first.
Yeah, so let's have a look.
I can zoom in. No, it's easier to do that.
Do this, yeah. So yeah, he has white and quite a bit harsher orange in there.
Look how precise that is, y'all.
These windows are not winning any builder awards. I like your spider. He looks kind of cool.
I added some extra textural elements to the sky too.
Oh,
you see
yeah, I do.
Like
You've got like what is that? Wispiness.
Yeah.
But I really like about yours is this shading. So explain how you did this shading here, where you have the lines. Like mine are definitely just illustrative, drawn in outline.
Let me grab my pointer. Basically what I did is I thought of the contour of the way these come down. So they came kind
Kind of a wedge shape.
kind of more of a widow's peak kind of into each one. And I used a little bit different color than you did. I used our blue and orange mix instead of blue and black.
Okay.
So it makes it a little softer. But outside of that, I mean,
Thank you, Linda.
I just paint rougher. For lack of a better term, I just paint rougher, so stuff seems softer.
Paul's looks a bit feline.
It's the nose. I was thinking about doing like a feline mouth to it, but
yeah, you have an upside down triangle like cats do.
And I did that on purpose, but I thought about doing a cat mouth, but then I was like, no, let's just do the small little. Woo.
Yeah, yours looks very like that face on it. Like I said, it was like Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember. I was introducing my daughter the other day, my 16-year-old, to the witch, and her name is Hazel. So she's like Witch Hazel from Looney Tunes. Do you remember her? And she'd run around, and all of her hairpins were always flying out of her hair.
Yeah, I remember.
I thought I wanted to do a painting of her, like just stylize it. I think she would be really funny to paint. I'm looking for something in my phone real quick. Okay, so our friend has you were talking about feline. Our friend has a couple of hairless cats, and they're so cool. So I took some pictures. We went over.
Want me to zoom in?
Yeah. So they're very Halloween looking, especially, there's the body. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Those lines are not ribs. Those are actually, it's got like really faint tabby stripes on it.
It does have a little bit of hair, but it doesn't feel like it.
Very regal. And then her other one is named Dobby.
Wait, what was that one's name?
Winky. And this is Dobby. Now Dobby is also hairless, but Dobby has Ugg boots. And that's Dobby's tail right there. It looks like a feather. But yeah, so I'm actually going to paint this one for her. But they're the coolest, most Halloween cats, especially Winky. Especially Winky.
So sweet, too.
Yeah, it just reminded me when you guys were talking about feline. I was like, oh, I know some Halloween cats.
Dobby's a little bit aloof.
Yeah.
But Winky is just
Winky
sweet.
will hug you.
Yeah.
And dig her claws in while she needs you.
I need you. All right. So we zoom back out.
Yeah.
Eye contact with the camera. Are you ready? In 3, 2, 1.
Eye contact.
Eye contact.
And I'm missing my horns and my earrings. I just got kind of ragged throughout. The earrings fell out, horns came off. So I hope you guys had fun. I really enjoyed painting this one. I love the holidays. I'm super inspired. As soon as fall hits, I'm like, paint, 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 paint. And I have been recording some videos. Paul will add them to our YouTube channel. Videos that are outside of the box. And yeah, I had fun.
But do those videos, they have project kits, or are they just for fun?
They will. They will. Yes, one of them is that board we taught at the winery last weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've got a couple watercolors they'll be for kids, but they're ones that adults would have fun doing too. They could
so
be
rude.
fruit fly. They could go with any.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys can join us tomorrow night when we paint the haunted house.
Wow, we get to do it 2 nights in a row. I'm looking forward to this one.
I really like it. I just poked my nail through it.
Did you really?
No, I didn't. I didn't make a hole in it.
Oh.
They're not that sharp.
No, this one's going to be a lot of fun, you guys. And I think the thing that, like, to just give you a heads up, and I mentioned this earlier about Halloween paintings, is like all that need for perfection and symmetry and pleasant looking trees and stuff. It's all out the window. You just forget it. Just like crooked, jagged. I think I even put...
I'm just laughing at the comments. Winky looks like the alien on Independence Day.
Look, Jenny, I even intentionally put Who's It branches on.
Yes, you did.
Like...
I don't know why you call them Who's It branches.
Well, okay, so...
I just call them WTF branches.
Yeah, so branches that go down and back, started calling it Who's It branches. We call them WTF branches.
Like branches that don't make sense.
They don't make sense when you look at a painting. And so, because then you look at it and you go, something doesn't look right with that tree. And it's that one funky branch that goes the wrong direction. So I intentionally put Who's It branches in my trees on this one, just because it's Halloween. Everything should feel slightly off.
Slightly off.
So
fun. We get to paint big snaggy tree with a face on it
Yeah.
tomorrow.
And actually, you know what? My favorite part of this painting is actually the pumpkins.
Do you think the hardest part is the house?
No.
No? What's the hardest part?
Probably the sky.
Okay. Clouds.
So
Yay,
there's
clouds.
not intentionally clouds. It's just patches of color
Yeah.
on this one. So anyway, so we should probably
Sign off?
sign off and call it a night. Oh, I did lots of birds too.
Yeah, I like those.
Lots of birds.
Thank you guys so much for your support. We
Yeah.
really appreciate you very much. Thank you again to our Patreons. If you feel like you want to throw us a buck or two, Patreon is there for that. And we appreciate all of that so much. And love you guys. Hope you have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow night.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. And we're done.